If you're managing diabetes, you know that keeping a close eye on your blood sugar levels is something you do every single day. And a huge part of that, of course, is the food you eat. Now, we all know fruits are fantastic. They're loaded with essential vitamins and minerals. But did you know that some of them can be surprisingly high in carbohydrates? This can lead to those blood sugar spikes we all want to avoid. So today, we're going to talk about 5 specific fruits that, if you have diabetes, you might want to think about avoiding or at least strictly limiting. This is all about helping you achieve better glucose control and improve your overall well-being. Top 5. High-carb fruits. Diabetics should avoid. Choosing the right fruits when you have diabetes can feel a bit like walking a tightrope, can't it? On one hand, fruits are nature's candy, packed with so many good things for us. But on the other, some fruits have really high sugar concentrations that can make your blood glucose levels shoot up. That's why it's super important to know which fruits are riskier than others. This knowledge is key to keeping your blood sugar stable and helping to prevent those long-term complications that can come with diabetes. So, we're going to dive into some specific fruits and really look at why they can be so tough for managing glucose. Our goal here is to help you make more informed choices for your health. When you're aware of these high-carb culprits, you're much better equipped to build a diet that truly supports your diabetes management. This way, you can still enjoy a bit of sweetness, but in moderation and from sources that are safer for you. So let's take a closer look at these 5 fruit categories. 1. Canned fruits in syrup. First up, let's talk about canned fruits in syrup. You know, it's easy to reach for canned fruits. They're convenient, especially when fresh fruit isn't in season or you just don't have time for prep. But if you have diabetes, these seemingly harmless items in your pantry can actually hide a pretty big risk. You see, processed fruits, especially the ones canned in heavy or even light syrup, pack in a lot more carbohydrates and sugars compared to fresh fruits. The biggest worry here is all that added sugar. To make them taste sweeter and last longer, manufacturers often douse fruits like peaches, pears, and fruit cocktail in a syrup. This syrup is usually made from sugar, water, and sometimes even high fructose corn syrup. And what this does is dramatically boost the total sugar content. This sugar gets absorbed into your bloodstream really quickly, and that can lead to a sharp and potentially dangerous spike in your blood glucose levels. Now, during the canning process, fruits are peeled, sliced, and cooked. This might slightly reduce some nutrients that are sensitive to heat, but the real problem is still that sugary syrup. It doesn't just add empty calories, it pretty much cancels out many of the fruit's natural benefits because it overloads your system with processed sugar. This is why reading labels is so important. If you see phrases like in heavy syrup or in light syrup, those are definite red flags for added sugars. And here's something to keep in mind. Even if you drain off the syrup, a good amount of sugar has already soaked into the fruit itself. So, for better blood sugar management, it's really best to avoid these if you can. Fresh fruits are always your top choice. But if you do go for canned, try to find options packed in their own juice or water. And always check the label for no added sugar. Another little tip is that rinsing fruits canned in juice can help wash away some of that leftover sugar. And don't forget about frozen, unsweetened fruits. They're another fantastic alternative because they keep their nutrients well without any of those sugary extras. 2. Overripe bananas. Next on our list are overripe bananas. Now, we all love bananas, right? They're a go-to fruit, famous for potassium and their natural sweetness. But here's something important for those with diabetes. As a banana gets riper, its carbohydrate makeup changes quite a bit, and this can make overripe bananas a bit of a concern. When a banana is still green or just turning yellow, a lot of its carbs are in the form of starch, especially something called resistant starch. This type of starch acts a bit like fiber and is gentler on your blood sugar. However, as that banana keeps ripening and starts getting those brown spots, enzymes get to work and change those starches into simple sugars like sucrose, fructose, and glucose. What this means is that an overripe banana is a whole lot sweeter and will have a higher glycemic index, or GI, compared to one that's less ripe. So because very ripe bananas have more of these simple sugars, your body digests and absorbs them much faster. This quick absorption can lead to a more noticeable spike in your blood glucose levels. And that's exactly what people with diabetes are trying to prevent. The science really backs this up. The riper the banana, the more sugar it contains, and the quicker it's going to affect your blood sugar. If you're a banana fan, try to pick ones that are still a little green or just yellow, as they'll be kinder to your blood sugar. Portion size is also super important here. A whole large banana might just be too many carbs at once. Maybe go for half a small banana and try pairing it with some protein or a healthy fat, like a few nuts or a spoonful of sugar-free peanut butter. This can help slow down how quickly that sugar hits your system. When you eat it matters too. Having a banana as part of a balanced meal, instead of on an empty stomach, can also lessen its impact on your blood sugar. Now, if your diabetes is well controlled, you might be able to handle an occasional small, less ripe banana. But generally speaking, those very ripe, super sugary bananas are best left alone. 3. Tropical fruits with high sugar content. All right, let's move on to our third category, tropical fruits that are high in sugar. It's hard to resist fruits like mangoes, pineapples, and lychees, isn't it? They're so colorful, and their flavors are intensely sweet and exotic. And yes, they do offer vitamins and antioxidants. However, many of these popular tropical fruits are naturally very high in sugar, mostly fructose. This can really be a challenge if you're managing blood sugar for diabetes. Even though these sugars are natural and part of a whole food, your body still processes them and turns them into glucose, which then affects your blood sugar levels. Take mangoes, for example. They are especially packed with sugar. A single medium-sized mango can have over 40 grams of sugar. Pineapple is another one. While it's rich in good things like bromelain and vitamin C, it also delivers a pretty big hit of sugar. These tropical fruits often have a moderate to high glycemic index. What that means is they can cause your blood glucose to rise pretty quickly and significantly after you eat them. Because the sugars are so concentrated in these fruits, even what seems like a moderate portion can add up to a large carbohydrate load. Now, if your diabetes is well managed, you might be able to enjoy these fruits once in a while, in very small amounts. But they really shouldn't be a regular feature in your diet. If you do decide to have some, think of it as a special treat. Go for a tiny serving, maybe just a few small cubes of mango or pineapple, instead of a whole slice or a whole fruit. It can also help to pair them with foods that are rich in protein or fiber, as this can slow down how quickly the sugar is absorbed and reduce that glycemic impact. And a word of caution. Be extra careful when these fruits are in season and everywhere you look, because it can be really easy to eat too much. It's a good idea to compare their sugar content to lower sugar fruits, like berries. That can really put into perspective why being careful with these tropical treats is so important. 4. Dried fruits. Number 4 on our list is dried fruits. We often see things like raisins, dates, dried figs, prunes, and dried apricots promoted as healthy snacks. And it's true, they do keep some of the vitamins, minerals, and fiber from the fresh fruit. However, the process of drying them out creates a snack that is incredibly concentrated in sugar and calories. Think about it. When you take the water out of fruit, all those natural sugars get packed into a much, much smaller package. This means that just a small handful of dried fruit can contain a surprisingly large amount of sugar, often as much as you'd find in a much bigger serving of fresh fruit. For instance, just a quarter cup of raisins, which is about 40 grams, can pack around 30 grams of sugar. That's similar to what you might get from a whole cup or even more of fresh grapes. Because they're so dense, it's really easy to eat a lot of sugar and carbohydrates very quickly, and this can cause a rapid and significant jump in your blood sugar levels. This concentration of sugar is the main reason why dried fruits can be a real issue for people with diabetes. Your body absorbs these concentrated sugars very quickly, and this often leads to a blood glucose spike that can be tough to get under control. On top of that, Some dried fruits you buy in stores might even have extra sugars added, or they might be coated in sugar to make them sweeter and last longer. This, of course, just adds to their carbohydrate content. So if you have diabetes, it's usually best to seriously limit dried fruits, or even avoid them completely. If you do decide to have them once in a blue moon, portion control is absolutely key. We're talking 1 or 2 dates, or maybe a tablespoon of raisins. Definitely not a whole snack-sized bag. Pairing them with protein or healthy fats might help a little by trying to slow down sugar absorption, but that intense sugar density is still a big challenge. When it comes to managing your blood sugar effectively, choosing fresh, whole fruits is almost always going to be the better way to go. 5. Fruit juices and smoothies. And finally, our 5th category, fruit juices and smoothies. It might seem like drinking your fruit as juice or in a smoothie is a healthy and easy way to get your vitamins. But for those with diabetes, these drinks can actually be a huge source of sugar that gets absorbed very quickly. Here's the thing. When whole fruits are turned into juice, one of the best parts, the fiber, is often greatly reduced or even completely removed. And fiber is so important because it helps slow down how fast you digest and absorb sugar, which means a more gradual rise in your blood glucose. Without that fiber, the natural sugars in fruit juice hit your bloodstream really fast. This can cause a sharp spike in your blood sugar, almost like drinking a sugary soft drink. Even if it's 100% fruit juice with no added sugars, it can still have this big impact because of its concentrated natural sugar and the lack of fiber. Smoothies that you buy from a store or restaurant can be even trickier. They might have some fiber if they use whole blended fruits, but they often pack in a huge amount of fruit, way more than you'd normally eat at one time. Plus, many of these commercial smoothies also have added sugars, syrups, ice cream, or sweetened yogurts, which just bumps up the carbohydrate and calorie count even more. It's always a good idea to check the nutrition facts for these, as they can be surprisingly high in sugar. If you do enjoy fruit-based drinks, a much better approach for diabetes management is to make your own smoothies at home. That way, you're in complete control of what goes in. Try to use just a small amount of low-sugar fruit, like berries. Then, add plenty of non-starchy veggies, like spinach or kale. And don't forget to include sources of protein, such as unsweetened protein powder or Greek yogurt, and healthy fats, like avocado, chia seeds, or flax seeds. These help to balance the drink and slow down sugar absorption. If you're thinking about juice, maybe try diluting a small amount of fruit juice with a lot of water or sparkling water. Or even better, go for vegetable-based juices with just a tiny bit of fruit for flavor. Really, when it comes to managing your blood sugar well, choosing whole fruits instead of drinking them is always the best way to go. So, to wrap things up, while fruits are packed with so many valuable nutrients, if you have diabetes, it's really important to be mindful of those high carbohydrate varieties. These can mess with your blood sugar control and make managing diabetes more difficult. By making a conscious effort to avoid or strictly limit the 5 types of fruits we've talked about today, that's canned fruits in syrup, overripe bananas, high-sugar tropical fruits, dried fruits, and fruit juices. And instead, choosing those lower-carb, fiber-rich alternatives, you absolutely can enjoy the benefits of fruit in your diet, and you can do it while keeping your glucose levels healthier and more stable. It's all about making those informed choices. Now, we'd love to hear from you. Are you living with diabetes? Do you find choosing fruits a bit of a challenge? Please share your experiences with us in the comment section below. And if you'd like more tips on managing diabetes, be sure to subscribe to our newsletter. Finally, don't forget to share this information with any friends or family members who you think might find it helpful.